why could BFSI sector be an important theme for the long-term investors?
The sector is a reflection of an economy, right? And India has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So if we are of the view that India is likely to lead the growth for the world, then
Do you think NBFCs are just filling the gaps left by the banks?
the size and scale of NBFC is becoming far bigger, and I would rather call them.
India's BFSI sector has seen a remarkable transformation, now contributing to nearly 38% to the Nifty 50 index. To discuss the structural shifts and evolving credit landscape, we have with us Mr. Umang Shah at Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company Limited. Welcome to the discussion, Umang.
Thank you.
So, Umang, the BFSI sector now accounts for nearly 38% to Nifty 50, which is up from 15% 2 decades ago. What do you think have been the structural factors that have contributed to this massive increase in the index weightage?
Right. So firstly, thanks for the question. I think the BFSI sector is in effect a reflection of any economy, and that's not an exception for India. If you look at the sector, I mean, the sector has evolved significantly, both in terms of size, scale, regulations, so on and so forth. If you look at the sector, it's not just confined to banks, and it has become much, much wider over the last 2 decades. So basically, we are talking about banks, NBFCs, insurance, asset managers, and now even fintech companies, right? So clearly, that has provided the much required scale to the sector. Over a period of time, clearly the number of companies within the sector itself have gone up, right? So let me just provide some statistics to you that if we were to just look at last 5 years, there have been more than 40 odd listings in the space. Clearly, this has added significant market cap to the overall sector per se. And clearly, these listings, again, as I said, they are not just confined to banks. It would be confined to all the sub-segments within the sector that I have spoken about. So clearly, but that has added to quite a bit of weightage to the sector as a whole. Also, when we talk about the weightage in the index, one has to keep in mind there is a bit of a technical factor out here. A lot of larger banks by nature have much higher free float, and there have been a lot of regulatory listings as well. So in effect, clearly the sector has become much, much wider compared to what it used to be about 2 decades back. And as I said, from an ownership standpoint also, clearly it is far more conducive to own banks. Clearly, economy is growing, and so is the sector. Penetration remains low, and hence that's the reason why we have seen the sector weightage increasing considerably over last 2 decades.
Umang, I also want to understand the NBFCs are also gaining share in the credit mix. Do you think NBFCs are just filling the gaps left by the banks, or is there really a structural shift in the credit ecosystem?
No, I think a fairly pertinent question. See, NBFC started out as proxies to banks, and probably the agenda was to kind of, from a regulatory perspective, to provide credit or financial services wherever banks cannot reach. So NBFC started with very particular agenda. So in the past, you would have seen NBFCs predominantly acting in very niche areas, be it niche customer segments, niche regions, or niche products. Most of the NBFCs even today are monoline in terms of business. They might be probably focusing on housing or infrastructure or maybe asset financing per se. But I think over a period of time, we have seen once again the size and scale of NBFCs becoming far bigger, and they are now actually complementing banks rather than being just proxies to banks wherever they couldn't reach. So I would rather call them partners now. Again, if you look from a system perspective, probably the exposure of banks or the banking system to NBFCs today is just a shade below 10 odd percent in terms of system credit to NBFCs. And if we are to look the credit provided by NBFCs and HFCs put together, they would be roughly about 1/4 of the overall credit into the system per se. So from a significance or the relevance standpoint, clearly it's a far more important sector, I would say. And again, incrementally, we are seeing a shift in terms of NBFCs also moving away from being monoline to multi-line NBFCs, far more diversified. And as the size and scale is growing bigger and bigger, the RBI is also kind of tightly regulating them, right? Which also brings a lot more credibility to the operations of these NBFCs. So a lot of these large NBFCs now practically regulated the way banks are, which provides a lot of comfort to lenders and investors as well. So I think this is more like a structural shift that we are seeing, and NBFCs in that context are here to stay.
So also tell me, why could BFSI sector be an important theme for the long-term investors?
Right. So I think in some sense I've kind of partly answered it, but I think once again I would just repeat that the sector is a reflection of an economy, right? And India has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Again, for any economy, the banking sector or the BFSI sector is extremely crucial for the overall economic growth. It's a pillar of economic growth per se, right? So if we are of the view that India is likely to lead the growth for the world, then in that case, clearly the BFSI sector becomes extremely crucial. Again, even if you look at the sub-segments, right, from a penetration standpoint, be it, let's say, statistically, if you look at credit accounts per capita, you look at insurance premium as a percentage of GDP, or you look at demat accounts per capita, I think in all these factors, India does remain a little underpenetrated when we compare with some of the developed economies, right? So clearly there is a huge runway for growth. And as I said, with a lot of new listings coming through, the sector is not just confined to banks. So technically, from an investor perspective as well, you have an opportunity to play the whole space, be it through banks, NBFC, asset managers, brokerages, insurance companies, fintechs. So I think the space is only getting more and more exciting, and from a long-term investment opportunity standpoint, we believe this is going to be one of the important and exciting sector to look at, clearly contributing to India's GDP growth.
Thank you for sharing your insights on the BFSI sector.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Thank you.
It's been a meaningful discussion on how this sector is evolving and the factors shaping its role in the broader economy. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned to Kotak Mutual Fund.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.